Greetings and welcome back to Egypt Old Kingdom. I do want to address one suggestion that's been made in terms of where I'm allocating my labor, because I definitely was wrong about this. I've pulled out some of the 2 food farmers and moved those workers up into the Egypt map, where they are working at trading up and down the Nile. And this is just simply more profitable, more lucrative. You can see some of these up here, 2 food and 2 production. You go a little further down and we're getting, some military in, some army bonus from it. So overall, definitely a better way to deploy them. And we're not going to get as much benefit as we would have if I'd have put them in there right away, but we still should do pretty well and get some out of it. So I definitely want to worship Osiris here. And onward we go. We have finally removed the curse down here below the cataract. So we can get another worker. And we're also going to move you on down. Now we could do some trading here. Get the plus favor, but the rest of it isn't too impressive. Here, again, it's just not quite as good as the areas further that way. I'm going to actually just take this luxuries expedition and see if we can work on building that. And we'll get Osiris again. Well, there's one hit from Seth, so I want to be a little more careful now with our favor. We did get Memphis here, and another worker now available. So we could go here and work into the Bubastis area. We could get some production out of that. We could go with this particular expedition. We're looking good on production, though. I don't feel that we need to emphasize more into that. I'd like to work more on some scouting. We could go various areas. We're still working our way down the Nile here. So I think what I'm going to do is we're working on the west end of the Mediterranean. Let's have you come to this. We're not the west end of the Mediterranean, but the west end of Egypt's access to it. And you can keep moving up around. Well, they're hopping us around quite a bit with that exploration. We can get our final... Now we're up to maximum labor for what we have now. And I'm not going to really want to invest in more housing at this point. So we're peaked for the moment there. So we have the antelope herds. I want to keep working on them. More territory explored. And this is Lower Nubia, between the first and second cataracts, and we get another culture boost for that. And this is a key point here, and it's not the only one that we'll run into, but these little things are where you can do your long-term expeditions, and you just kind of have to know where they are. You probably miss them your first time through, or at least miss getting to them in a reasonable time frame. And we'll be working out of here probably for the rest of the game, so probably not even going to finish it. But what you get here is a bunch of culture in lump sum payments for each expedition. Like the shortest one, and the first one you have to do is Crete. And then 400 culture after 20 turns. 500 after 25, etc. And you keep working your way up to longer and longer ones. Now, it all works out to a lump sum of 20 culture per turn that you're spending on the project. If you consider that we're only in the neighborhood of, say, 70 culture a turn right now that we're bringing in, getting another 20 per turn from a single worker, that's a big deal. That's really going to help us. So we're definitely going to stick with it there. I want to hold on to our favor, not really going anywhere with that. What are we going to put with the rest of our workers, though? Let's see. Well, we do want to keep going down here. So that's definitely got to be one of them. And I think the other one we're going to put in here and work with these hippos. Get a little bit more favor and move them a little bit more closer along until I have something better to do with them. Now, we could do some more upgrading at this point. Research the slavery at 310. And then these 3, even though medicine's kind of interesting at 390, aren't as interesting to me as getting the higher favor ones up here. The tax revenue is worth considering. This maybe even to get some more boost from our workshops for all those all-important luxuries. We're going to wait and just boost up that culture some more. Well, this is actually quite excellent timing. We've got that expedition complete, and back they go at it. But the antelope herds, I would really like to domesticate them, and we now have the food to spare because we have maximized our workers for the moment. So, there's some permanent favor for us, and work on this pasture to boost the profitability of that area. Probably hang on to the favor for one more turn. That looks nice. And we have our next big event, the creation of the Egyptian state. Our ruler Menes is proclaiming the restoration of the rule of a single Horus. He is pacifying Upper and Lower Egypt, creating a dynasty that will eternally protect Egypt from the power of chaos. I don't know about that, but... Okay, so the Nile Delta and everything north of the First Cataract, in other words, north of Nubia, is part of the United Ancient Egypt. Plus 2 culture, and then a one-time bonus of another 100. And it says, according to late Egyptian and other ancient sources, Menes, a king of Upper Egypt coming from Thinis, united both lands of Egypt into a single state. And that is true. There is evidence for Menes uniting Egypt from outside of the Egyptian record. So that we can be pretty confident in. Now, modern Egyptologists consider him to be Horus Narmer or Horus Aha. That event became the starting point for the entire history of ancient Egypt. Well, that kind of muddles things because we're talking about Narmer, you know, just a few decades ago, and it said, you know, the starting point for ancient Egypt was the battle that Narmer led between Upper and Lower Egypt. So, I mean, was that Narmer or is this Narmer? Which way is it? We'll get back to that. Okay, we've got a gift from the Flax tribe, and this is actually, you know, they're the ones in Nubia just below the cataract, and we've also got this. We have a plus 70 culture bonus for getting to Dynasty 1. This dynasty will become famous for the numerous innovations its kings will introduce, as well as for creating the first true state in history. Well, I mean, I think there are some cultures in Mesopotamia that would argue with that. Indus River Valley might have a claim, but definitely one of the first and very impressive to move to a dynastic succession. Revisiting the issue of the identity of Menes for a bit, this is the gallery of lists in the Temple of Seti I, which dates to about 1250, 1300 BCE. It is not the only such list of kings. There are several of them. They vary in what period they cover and also to an extent in who is listed. They don't all agree with each other. So a big part of trying to identify the way things actually were is, you know, combining these various lists and taking a look at other evidence from the period. It's also interesting that a number of known kings are actually missing from the list. All of the reasons for that aren't known, but there were certain kings who were not looked on with approval after their time, and they were basically stricken from the history intentionally. Here's a close-up of the Cartouches for the First Dynasty. And notably for our purposes here, the first two are Menes and Aha, which would indicate that Menes is probably not Aha, at least according to this list. And probably the most dominant theory now is that Menes was sort of an honorific title, that Menes and Narmer were the same person. But we don't know that for sure. We aren't certain whether the Scorpion King might refer to one of these two or somebody that came earlier. But identifying Menes as Narmer is definitely the best bet. It's just speculation, but I'm thinking maybe they just wanted, in order for game pacing, to have a trial, a military trial, and then also include Narmer in the start of the First Dynasty, and didn't want to have those two events right next to each other or combine them into one. They wanted another one. So that's probably why they did it that way. I don't know. But it gets stranger, because if we look at Dynasty, First Dynasty, the kings are building a state of Egypt, uniting Upper and Lower Egypt, and the Koenigsliste has Narmer, Menes, and Aha. So it's saying like there are three different people, that Menes isn't Narmer or Aha. And actually, there's another bit here, because they have omitted, by putting this in there, adding Menes as another king at the beginning of the list, they've omitted Den, who would normally be between Djet and Adjib. Why does that matter? Well, Den is actually the king of the First Dynasty that we have the most archaeological evidence for. So that's really strange, and I want to say it's just a typo, but it'd be a strange kind of a typo or accidental omission. In any case, we do get plus 20% culture every turn, so that's a nice little bonus. We should expect more technological advance in this First Dynasty. And we've got the end of this dynasty here, and trade has been canceled because you don't trade with your own people. They're now part of our nation. And we are definitely going to want to be doing some food up here. And we've got, what are we going to do with all these people now? Let's take a look at our gifts here from the Flax tribe, and we want to reciprocate, give them luxuries for plus 10 relations. Or we can give them some favor and get plus 20 relations, special artifact from Ptah. I'm going to choose this, actually. I think we can much more easily afford favor than we can luxuries with our current balance. So, very nice. That is done. And the Flax people, all the way down here again, they're almost up to 100%. So, we may be able to assimilate that area as well. That would be nice. And with that gift, we're going to be able to add a couple more workers. That's excellent. With Seth sitting here, I'm going to hold off on any more favor for a bit, because we're going to be able to do some tech here. Now, the first one I want to get is the state festivals, but then we can come here and lower the worship cost. So I might as well save the favor for now and then let it go a further away once we get there. So state festivals and complex statewide rituals. People worship the gods by praising and reenacting their deeds. They're basically celebrating the unity and certain signposts of unified Egyptian culture. We've got the New Year for inundation and renewal, the Festival of Sokar for the ancestors, unification of the lands, etc. And we have royal tombs now, Palace of Eternity, along with our favor edition. We can't actually build that yet, but we're not far away. Okay, so where are we going to put all these workers? We're going to do something with them. We're continuing to scout this way. This is a pretty cheap scout over here. Maybe scout up these additional areas along the river, spread out a little bit more. And then we could also, we have some room now, because you get +1 worker bonus to each of these additional regions that we've brought in. And of course, if we were to come in here, you know, again, there's no trading possible. So we're going to, don't leave them there. Okay. So I'm going to think I want to get up to about +10 food here if I can. Which, actually, yeah, we'll go with that, and then we'll put one more into favor by coming back here and working with these orcs. We are still, yep, we're still working away on that one. How far are we on the hippos? And we've still got a ways. There's our pasture. And the new capital. Menace decided to control the country from the new capital of Memphis. So now the move to Memphis, being a center of Egyptian society, is happening. The king ordered construction of royal residence, main temple, and a dam, and so we've lowered the flood chance and we get +1 food. Goodness, we've got even more things to do. Relocation of the capital. King Menace has commanded us to construct important buildings before the end of the capital relocation. So, we get the advantages of the United States, which we aren't told what they are, if we build the White Walls Palace and the Temple of Ptah. And this is just a basic explanation. Look, the kings are going to control vast territories from United Capital, you know, between Upper and Lower Egypt, and we need to build key buildings to make that happen. We've got our pasture, ancestral duty. Let's make sure everything's okay over here with that expedition. It is. And human sacrifices, otherwise known as retainer sacrifices, is a bit strange that they threw this in here instead of a bit later, because we're relatively confident in which ruler we would actually associate this with specifically. But sacrificing the servants of rulers, strangled after ruler's death, how fun, and they were sacrificed to keep working for their lord in the other world. Sacrificing of prisoners of war continued till the late period, and foreign rulers were a preferred sacrifice for the gods. How lovely. Okay, we're going to, I think, pretty much continue as we are, except we need to get these built like yesterday. So they're not cheap. 25 production and 5 luxuries for 4 turns. You can see the upkeep there. But also we get plus 15 culture return. Well, that's actually not really a bad trade-off. And we're going to... we only had you in here for 1 turn. We're going to yank you out because you are going to be working on the temple, which has the same cost, but plus 4 favor per turn. Also very nice. You've explored some new territory. Well, let's definitely keep on rolling down this way. Grab another worker. And still want to save up more to get that next technology that I want. Now here, we've got... okay, we can do an expedition. That's not good. We can also colonize. Colonize some small tribes here. Let's go ahead and do that. There we go. And you know what? We have that 1 additional worker, so we're going to throw you back down in here as we continue the musical workers. We still can afford to have 4 more. We have royal reforms, important changes to rituals and celebrations, and the gods were pleased. Plus 1 favor, and this is just another random event. Another exploration here. Very nice. So we have a collection bonus of travertine there, and finish the temple to Ptah as well. Finish this area, and more petroglyphs. I'm going to be going with favor on these now, because I think favor, relatively speaking, we can use the favor to get ourselves more culture, whatever we want. So, I'm going to go with that route. And I think we're ready now for some really big words. Theriocephalic, divine image. What in the world? Gods are the forefathers of all living humans, had to be like humans, thus their anthropomorphic human nature. Same time they embodied forces of nature, and still they had zoomorphic animal qualities. The image of animal-headed human gods, aka Theriocephalic divine images, was born. A bunch of word salad that basically says human and animal representations combined for your deities. But now we can use a bunch of that favor and get more out of it because we have minus 10 cost. So let's go with Osiris and Seshat, and we'll do more Osiris later. Okay. So we still have... yeah, we're getting our additional favor, and we don't have the palace yet. Okay. More exploration. And we get assistance from other regions. Not much, but we'll take it. Bingo! So Memphis initially became famous under its ancient name, White Walls, or Imbuhej, as we noticed at the beginning of the series. Many argue over the reason. What did it really mean? And they're still arguing. There actually, I found out there is an expedition right now. Expedition probably isn't the right term. Russian archaeologists are working on excavating in this area, and they have actually found, as of 2015, fragments of the White Walls themselves. We don't know for sure why, but they're continuing to excavate the area. It's possible that in a decade or two we may have an answer to this question. But we don't know the answer right now. So the fortress, plus 5 culture every turn, or plus 1 favor. And I am going to go with the favor. White was the sacred color of their ancestors, is the theory on this side. So tomb walls were covered with a thick layer of whitewash. Later is replaced by masonry and gave name to the White Walls. And we get the advantages of the United States now. The process of relocating has finished, and we can do further reforms. Memphis acquired special significance. Every Egyptian wanted to live and die there, gave special opportunities, and a chance for eternal life under the patronage of ancestor. That sounds like something that would be pretty cool. First Dynasty tombs, aka the beginning of true pyramid precursors. So they wish to prepare personal eternal dwellings in order to start preparations, and we need to build 8 of them. We get a one-time reward of plus 10 favor, and there's going to be more going on here in just a moment that we'll take a look at. But notice there's 8 of them for the 8 kings of the First Dynasty. And we already completed the quest of getting stone from Memphis. We just get credit for it now because the building of the tombs has begun. Goal is to send an expedition to the Memphis region to collect limestone. And there's another one, Copper of the Sinai. We haven't done this one yet. To meet the growing demands, we require more copper. Abundant in the Sinai, we just subdue the local tribes and dispatch regular expeditions. So if we can take control of them and mine it, we're going to get a plus 50 to our production bonus. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. Sinai copper deposits, the most accessible source of copper for Egyptians. Oldest malachite and turquoise mines were found there and was refined by heating crashed, I think it means crushed, malachite. Active usage of copper helped civilization to aspire to greatness and start pyramid building. So, again, an essential part of the process. And the Sinai is, well, we're not actually in the right area. We're going to boost our workers. But that's right over here. So we're going to want to deal with that. We're going to want to deal with the First Dynasty here. Now, I'm going to get to actually building the tombs in the next episode. But let's take a look at something over here. If we throw down a worker there, we're obviously going to want one. And it wants us to do the Tomb of Aha. So if there's 8 of these, and we're starting with Aha. In other words, we're starting with the one that was in the 3rd of their initial list of 8. Guess what? We're not going to be able to get to all of them. And then it says Djer is next. So, anyway, why that is the case, we will explore a little bit more in the next episode. We have completed the palace. We have explored Syria here. There's going to be a lot of going on there. Spacious lands densely populated by Asians. They built hundreds of towns, and their culture is immensely advanced. Indeed, eastern end of the Mediterranean, that was in fact the case. We get plus 80 culture, boosting that up. So lots to do. The building period of ancient Egypt coming up next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Egypt Old Kingdom will continue.